Glad to be here again. Today we're going to discuss Ukrainian issues. First of all, it's very important that we speed up the military aid to Ukraine. I think that all of us have looked to the warehouses, what we have, but we should do more, and we should give a clear signal to European defense industry to produce more. And I was thinking that maybe we could use a similar mechanism like we did with the vaccines, so that the European countries will provide funds, European Commission will procure, and then it will be sent directly to Ukraine, because the price goes up with every delay, with every hesitation, and that could speed up the process so that Ukraine will give or get the military aid in months, not in years. Second, we have to definitely proceed with the International Tribunal for the aggression crimes, and I don't support the hybrid tribunal because it's a trick, it's a trap to leave Putin out of this responsibility, and I think it's a very wrong message, because he's the one who is responsible, he's the one who has decided to attack Ukraine, and clearly he has to be taken also accountable for this. And third, the frozen assets. We need a European solution to proceed with the use of frozen assets, and we have been figuring out, as I'm a lawyer by profession, I've been trained to find solutions, so it could be done so that Russia has a claim to Europe because the assets are frozen, we have the assets. Russia is destroying Ukraine, so Ukraine has a claim towards Russia. So if we give those amounts of assets that we have, or the funds that we have from those assets to Ukraine, we know that we have, Russia has a claim to us, and we can make a settlement later on, because Ukraine has a claim towards Russia to repair what they have caused, all the damages in Ukraine. So it could be done in this way. But we definitely need a European solution, because Estonia alone, we don't have much, those frozen assets, but together we have. And very positive that also other countries outside the European Union are looking for solutions. It's not okay that our taxpayers are paying for the damages that Russia is causing in Ukraine.
Are you in favor of sending more planes with long-range missiles?
We don't have those planes, so it is not up to me to say. Of course, if we would have, we would help Ukraine with all the means we have. So it's up to those countries to say who have the planes.
Devastation earthquake in Turkey and Syria. Are you going to any offer?
We already have our team is already in Turkey. We sent the team already 2 days ago. Estonia is small; we can make decisions fast. So we sent 45 rescue workers together with their equipment to Turkey already 2 days ago.
How about Syria?
We have sent to Turkey 45, not to Syria. Yes. We are a small country. We can send one rescue mission. This is all we have.
On migration, there is a letter from 8 countries surrounding external measures for external borders. What do you expect out of that? What is the limit of this council that you want to reach?
I think this is very important that we discuss having the protecting the borders is a common issue, and not only the issue of those countries who have the borders. So we should do a common effort also from the European Commission side to fund those borders. The other thing that we have to discuss is the instrumentalization of migration, because we see this more often. Or people outside, or countries who are hostile towards Europe, they know very well that migration is our weakness, so they are using migration as a tool to weaken us, and this has to be clearly set out that we don't accept this.
Funds for fences.
Excuse me?
Funds for fences.
Yes, funds for protecting the borders. I mean, when European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen was in Estonia, I was showing also the border that we have with Russia. So it is our common border. It's the European Union border, and it's not only our obligation to protect it, but it's actually a common problem for all the borderline countries.
How do you want to increase the number of people who don't have the right to asylum?
The question actually is about really the agreements with those countries to take people back who don't have the right to asylum. And the rate to take back the migrants is very low. It's 24%. So we have to, do agreements with those countries so that they would take their citizens back. And it is also a clear message that it's not so easy to come to Europe and stay here. You can only come when you have the rights to come. Like in the United States, it's done before they come to United States.
Should there only be parents or also sticks in those agreements?
Excuse me?
Should there only be parents or also sticks in those agreements?
I think both work, but so far the carrots have been working, so that those countries, have the tools to deal with the core issues, why people are migrating or trying to get out of the country. I mean, there was a good saying that the quality of a country is seen by either people wanting to get in or out of the country. Coming from the occupied territories of Soviet Union, I know this very well, that everybody wanted to get out, nobody wanted to get in, really.
President
Yes.
Zelensky is joining.
Will you be making a case for countries like France and to send fighter jets?
As I said before, we don't have fighter jets, so it's up to those democratic countries to decide whether they can. But it's my plea that everyone should do what they can, because the price will go up with every hesitation, with every delay. If you think, if we would have given all that we are giving now already in January, all the countries, I think the outcome would have been different. So I hope that if those countries can, they will, but it's their decision. Okay.
President Zelensky is joining today. Is there anything left you can promise to him?
The accountability, I mean the tribunal and the promise that people who are responsible for this are taken accountable, are held accountable. I think this is very important, and also the message that we will try to do everything possible to help Ukraine rebuild Ukraine afterwards, and that also includes the reparations from Russia to rebuild Ukraine, and therefore with the use of frozen assets. And what we are also doing is sanctioning or criminalizing also the circumvention of sanctions. I think this is also very important. Not that only that we put in place the sanctions, but the sanctions are not circumvented and they really work. We know from our intelligence that the sanctions hurt, and actually Russian economy is suffering, and that is important that the war machine is not fueled any possible way. Okay, thank you.
Schönen guten Morgen. Wir kommen hier heute zusammen, um ein Zeichen der Solidarität und der Einigkeit zu setzen bei der Unterstützung der Ukraine. Eine ganz wichtige Sache, die uns jetzt seit dem Ausbruch des Krieges nun schon fast ein Jahr gelungen ist. Es ist deshalb sehr gut, dass wir mit dem ukrainischen Präsidenten diskutieren können und dieses Signal der Einigkeit, der Solidarität noch einmal aussenden können und zeigen können, dass wir unsere Unterstützung für die Ukraine bei der Verteidigung ihrer Unabhängigkeit und Integrität weiter fortsetzen werden, solange wie das notwendig ist. Deutschland wird dazu seinen Beitrag leisten. Wir sind unter den EU-Staaten mittlerweile das Land, das am allermeisten an Unterstützung gibt, finanziell, humanitär, aber eben auch ganz konkret am allermeisten Unterstützung leistet, wenn es um Waffenlieferungen geht. Das ist notwendig, damit die Ukraine sich verteidigen kann, genauso wie es notwendig ist, dass auch das immer koordiniert, gemeinsam und nicht alleine geschieht. Ich bin sehr froh, dass das die Haltung ist, die wir hier in Europa auch heute wieder festhalten werden. Im Übrigen geht es um zentrale Fragen der europäischen Souveränität. Wir müssen die Probleme, vor denen wir stehen, lösen und die Herausforderungen bewältigen. Dazu zählt ganz besonders die Frage der Modernisierung unserer Volkswirtschaften, der Innovation, wie wir es schaffen, den menschengemachten Klimawandel aufzuhalten und unsere Industrie so umzubauen, dass sie erfolgreich ist, gute Arbeitsplätze schafft und gleichzeitig den Klimawandel aufhält. Und das gilt natürlich auch, wenn es um Modernisierungsfragen geht, die etwa mit der Digitalisierung verbunden sind. Insofern ist das ein zentrales Thema, über das wir heute diskutieren werden und wo wir auch einen Schulterschluss miteinander beschreiben werden über die Frage, wie wir unsere vorhandenen Möglichkeiten nutzen, gemeinsam zu agieren und wie wir gleichzeitig sicherstellen, dass Europa im internationalen Wettbewerb bestehen kann. Wir werden unsere amerikanischen Freunde bitten, dass sie bei den Maßnahmen, die sie treffen, nicht diskriminierend sind gegenüber den Staaten Europas. Und ich bin auch ganz zuversichtlich, dass uns das gelingt, auch weil wir auch hier in diesen Fragen Einigkeit und Geschlossenheit zeigen werden. Ebenfalls wichtig ist, dass wir bei der großen Herausforderung, die mit den Themen der Fluchtmigration verbunden sind, gemeinsame Perspektiven entwickeln. Ich halte das für möglich. Das ist jetzt die Zeit, in der nicht von Treffen zu Treffen, Konferenz zu Konferenz Beschlüsse gefasst werden, sondern wo wir am Ende gemeinsame Zielsetzungen definieren, die dann in diesem Jahr auch in praktische Politik übersetzt werden können. Ganz klar ist, eine wichtige gemeinsame Aktivität muss immer sein, dass wir zu Verständigung kommen zwischen der Europäischen Union und den Herkunftsstaaten vieler Flüchtlinge und dass wir erreichen, dass diejenigen, die sich nicht erfolgreich auf den Schutz, den Europa bietet, den Asylschutz zum Beispiel, berufen können, auch wieder in ihre Herkunftsländer zurückkehren. Das verbindet sich mit unserer Perspektive, dass wir ohnehin ja, was die Erwerbsmigration betrifft, ein gemeinsames Interesse daran haben, dass diejenigen, die wir für unsere Arbeitsmärkte brauchen, auch hierher kommen. Und da kann eine gute Sache draus werden für die Länder, wo viele herkommen heute, die nach Europa streben, auf irregulärem Wege und für die Länder Europas, die Fachkräfte benötigen.
Müssen Zäune an der EU-Außengrenze gebaut werden mit Wegpflicht?
Ich glaube, es ist richtig, dass wir hier ganz gute gemeinsame Formulierungen gefunden haben. Die Kommission hat sich dazu ja auch geäußert.
Herr Bundeskanzler, sehen Sie die Ukraine in Zukunft in der EU? Oder haben Sie die Befürchtung, dass diese Perspektive bei eventuellen Friedensverhandlungen irgendwann wieder ist?
Wir haben ein sehr klares Signal gesetzt. Das Signal beinhaltet eine europäische Perspektive im Sinne von Beitrittskandidatenstatus für Moldau und für die Ukraine, perspektivisch auch für Georgien. Und wir haben ganz klar Tempo jetzt angekündigt bei der Frage der 6 Westbalkanstaaten. Wir wollen, dass das gelingt. Klar ist dabei, dass das natürlich bedeutet, dass jedes einzelne Land die Kriterien erfüllen muss, die wir gemeinsam als unsere Vorstellung haben von Rechtsstaatlichkeit, Demokratie und sozialer Marktwirtschaft. Das gilt für alle, aber auch alle sind sehr bemüht. Und ich will ausdrücklich sagen, dass so eine Geschichte sich nicht fortsetzen und auch nicht wiederholen darf, wie die, dass jetzt vor 20 Jahren in Thessaloniki den Westbalkanstaaten zugesagt wurde, dass sie Mitglieder der Europäischen Union werden können. Alle dachten, das ist dann so in 2 bis 8 Jahren der Fall. Nun sind wir im 20. Jahr. Da müssen wir mehr Klarheit, mehr Tempo haben, aber auch unsere eigenen Hausaufgaben machen, was unsere Entscheidungsprozesse betrifft.
Devastation, earthquake in Turkey, Syria. Are you going to offer?
Europa fühlt mit den Opfern der Erdbebenkatastrophe in der Türkei und in Syrien. Wir sind bei den Angehörigen, bei den Freunden, die ihre Liebsten verloren haben, und wir sind auch mit unserem ganzen Herzen bei der Türkei und werden alles dafür tun, dass hier schnell Hilfe organisiert werden kann, gemeinschaftlich, und dass wir auch alles dafür tun können, dass wieder aufgebaut werden kann, was zerstört worden ist.
Warum brauchen die Panzer so lange, um die Ukraine anzukommen?
Wir sind sehr schnell, und Deutschland leistet einen ganz zentralen Beitrag dazu, dass wir eine schnelle Unterstützung gewährleisten, wie auch in der Vergangenheit. Wir bemühen uns jetzt, dass viele andere, die sich in der Vergangenheit ja gemeldet haben, jetzt diesen Finger aufzweigen, auf praktische Taten folgen lassen.
Was für eine zusätzliche Unterstützung kann die Ukraine noch erhalten? Was für eine zusätzliche militärische Unterstützung?
Wir haben klare Haltung, was Europa betrifft, im Hinblick auf den Prozess der Perspektive für Europa. Und das ist, glaube ich, das, was ich eben schon ausgeführt habe, wie wir uns das gemeinsam sehen. Wir haben eine klare Aussage gemacht in Bezug auf Moldau, in Bezug auf die Ukraine, die Perspektive für Georgien formuliert und auch im Hinblick auf die 6 Westbalkanstaaten. Und ansonsten freue ich mich auf die nächsten Begegnungen mit Ihnen.
Are still occurring in Ukraine. We, of course, also have to help Ukraine find that path to Europe. We have given Ukraine the green light that we want them to join the European family. I think it's in our interest that we actually work towards opening up the formal negotiation process to show the light to the Ukrainian people that we really want them. And of course also to help them go through all of the reforms that they will still need to do. So as we're helping them win the war in Ukraine, we also have to open the door wider for them to move closer to Europe as a whole.
And how you can provide them more financial
I think it's important for every country's military to provide the hardware that they have. So Latvia has provided, and we're still providing from our hardware kit, and we need other nations that have heavier equipment, say the tanks, to provide those, and I think the discussion on the fighter jets is a very reasonable one. We have to make sure that Ukraine wins, and the Ukrainian military knows what it is that they need, and we have the ability to respond, and it is our obligation to respond and to aid them. Sorry? Latvia supports the sending of all and any equipment that Ukraine needs to win the war. So we have sent from our arsenal all that we have. We don't have the fighter jets or the tanks, but we've sent Stinger missiles, howitzers, helicopters, munitions, and others. And this is what we think every country should do, is to look at the arsenals of what they have and to open them up for Ukraine, because Ukraine needs these weapons to stop the aggression and win the war. And I have to repeat, it's in Europe's self-interest that Ukraine wins the war. It's in Europe's self-interest that Russia does not succeed, because if Russia were to succeed in Ukraine, then that spells a very, very grim future for the rest of Europe as well. The message, my message to Zelensky is that Latvia stands and will stand firmly with Ukraine, and Europe stands and will stand firmly with Ukraine. Sorry? I believe that Russia's war in Ukraine and Ukraine's response has made us realize how important democracy is, and that you have to stand to defend it. It is not something that is a given. It is something that Ukrainian soldiers and civilians are dying to defend for on a daily basis, and that's something for all of us to think about. The Ukrainians are willing to sacrifice their lives for the values that many of us in Europe take for granted. That's why we have to continue to support them so that they can succeed in their fight against Russian aggression.
Thank you. Thank you.
Russian economy will start to feel all the pain they deserve. Yes, we will express our solidarity and the condolences. Really, it's terrible, but you can do nothing against the nature, against the power of nature. Sometimes it's much more important to prevent human from making crimes and making crimes of aggression. But nature is nature. And of course, we are full from the bottom of our heart. I would like to express my condolences to President Erdogan and nation of Turkey, because this is really a huge challenge. And Lithuania, of course, is ready to support, together with other countries, by all means, the country which suffered this terrible earthquake.
You're going to discuss migration today. Are you in favor of using EU funds to build fences on the external borders?
We already built the fence, and Lithuania built the fence, which is quite long. This about 480 kilometers along the border with Belarus. But what we need not only material fences, we need also legal framework helping us to fight against, not only against illegal migration, but also against instrumentalization of illegal migration. And Lithuania suffered and faced this phenomenon in 2021 as Belarusian regime deliberately wanted to destabilize the situation, sending the people, sending the migrants to the border. They tried to cross the border, and it was really a very tough time for Lithuania, but we managed quite well, and now we are ready. We built a fence, we have all the surveillance equipment there, and I think what is important to prevent other countries from trying to do the same in the future, because this is not probably the last attempt to challenge our resilience, and this is important to be prepared in legal sense of the word.
There is a letter from 8 countries, including Lithuania, to protect external borders better. Austria even demanded to blockade the declaration of this summit. If there is not happening enough, do you see now a foundation that enough is happening to protect external borders in this summit?
I think everything should be done in order to be protected. And of course, I would also stress the importance of strategic communication, to talk with the third countries. There are a lot of fake news about the possibilities to cross the border, to go to European Union freely without any restrictions, and people just are irritated. And they are coming, and they see that the reality is totally different from the imaginations. So this is important to have also very bold policy on strategic communication.
What will you say to the Western countries saying that there is no migration crisis right now?
No migration crisis. Come to Lithuania and see. We are the seniors. Because the time is very precious, and we lose the time, and the more we lose the time, the more casualties, the more suffering, the more people deaths we have in Ukraine. And of course, not talking about civil infrastructure and destroyed economy, social systems. We have to be decisive. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to achieve the victory we all want.
So you want to see France, Germany
We did,
move on this?
our example shows, of course, we are not a large country. We have limited possibilities, but we started to support Ukraine even before the war broke out. We sent the first stingers 2 weeks before the war started. And we try to show to the rest of the world that it is possible. Even having limited possibilities, we try to do our best in order to help to support Ukraine militarily, politically, economically, financially, by all means. Thank you. In being in the midst of the war, I think this is very important to notice that there is a political consensus in Ukraine to take all the measures which are needed, to pass all the laws which are needed, and they are doing very well. And I hope very much that they will be able to finalize this progress until October of this year. And European Commission's estimation and conclusion will be positive. It will let us, the leaders of the European Council, to take all the decisions regarding the start of accession negotiations.
Today, the first thing I will do is to brief the leaders about the situation of the dialogue between Kosovo and Belgrade. I will inform the last developments, the last contacts. The proposal is on the table. I've been calling the two leaders to come back to Brussels soon, in a couple of weeks, in order to definitely push for this proposal. And I will ask the leaders for a strong support in order to avoid any kind of escalation, and ask them to work seriously on this proposal, which is the only way to try to solve a normalized relationship between Kosovo and Serbia. We have been going from crisis to crisis. Now it's time to de-escalate and to work constructively. Secondly, on Ukraine, I will participate in a debate where, together with President Zelensky, the result will be, sure, more support for Ukraine, providing more arms, more military support, more financial support, in order to make Ukraine able to resist the Russia aggression. And finally, on migration. Fortress Europe is not a solution. Migration is as old as humanity. The problem is not to cut migration, but to manage it. To manage it in a human way, first of all. It's an important part of our external policy. More and more migration is at the core of our relation with a lot of countries around the world, our partners. And we have to work with them and tackle the root causes of migration and to make migration manage. We can ask people to take back the irregular migrants, but we have to offer lines of regular migration, because first, Europe needs migrants, and secondly, it is a way of dealing better with our partners around the world.
Devastation Tier 3 and Tier 3. Are you going to
Yes, certainly the Council will take this issue into discussion. Yesterday I went to the Turkish embassy to express my condolences. It's a great tragedy. And the Europeans are fully mobilized, sending all rescue equipments, capacities, medical, to try to support Ukraine and Syria on this situation.
Will you say that to the leaders that think there is a migration crisis right now and that want to build defense outside of
Well, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a migration crisis. Certainly the number of migrants and asylum seekers is increasing on the Eastern Mediterranean, decreasing on the West Mediterranean and the Central Mediterranean. It's not a crisis. It's an increase in the number of people arriving. And this is something that responds to root causes. People move because on their countries there is not a future, there is no peace, there is no stability. So we have to take migration as an important part of our external policy. when we talk with our partners, we have to offer something on migration more than just take your people back. Take your people back, but offer them the possibility of open channels of regular migration. It's the best way of fighting against smuggling and avoiding people risking and losing their lives. Thank you.
I'll come to you afterwards, okay? Yeah.
αλλά και με την παροχή σημαντικής ανθρωπιστικής βοήθειας. been very, very clear that the return policies of the European Union overall have failed. If you look at the total number of people whose asylum applications have been rejected, a very, very small percentage is actually being returned. So we need better European coordination in order to make this happen. At the same time, we've always been advocating for a more effective policy to protect the European Union's external borders. Unless we manage to secure our borders in an effective and fair manner, we will not be able to solve the problem of migration. This is not just a problem of secondary flows, it's a problem of people trying to come into the European Union in a completely uncoordinated manner. And let me point out once more the absolute necessity to eradicate, to eliminate, to destroy the networks of smugglers who are benefiting from the human pain and are currently trafficking people into the European Union, frequently in completely horrible conditions, as is currently happening in the Aegean.
Are you in favor of using EU funds for fences on the external?
Absolutely yes. I think it is. It doesn't seem to me to be very logical that the EU is financing, let's say, technology or drones or surveillance equipment, but refuses to fund the fence itself. We're talking about an integrated approach in terms of the external border management, and of course fences should be included in that financing package. In any case, Greece is building its own fence, and it will do so with or without European money.
And on Zelensky, are you looking forward to meeting him?
Are you going to offer, because you are laborers?
Look, Greece was the first country to send rescue teams to Turkey. They've saved numerous people from the rubbles. We've sent a second team. We're currently sending 5 planes full of humanitarian assistance. It is our obligation to help our neighbors. And this is a time to leave aside our political differences and to offer a hand of friendship to the Turkish people, the Syrian people, who are suffering a horrible catastrophe. And frankly, when it comes to the relations between our two countries, I cannot imagine of a stronger message than a Greek rescue worker, a Turkish rescue worker working together to save a little Turkish girl. I've said many times that Greek and Turkish people have nothing to separate, that we are friends, and we're proving that we are friends in these times of difficulty.
Mr. Prime Minister, your main message to Ukraine.
Wer will anfangen? German, English? French? Okay.
Heute kommt Herr Zelensky. Was erwarten Sie von dem Besuch und was würden Sie sich wünschen, können Sie ihm vielleicht noch anbieten, weiter zu unterstützen?
Also das, was feststeht, ist, dass die Ukraine wirklich sehr viele Fortschritte gemacht hat, um näher an uns näher zu kommen. Aber die Kommission ist die uns mitteilt, ob die 7 Bedingungen auch erfüllt sind. Und ich warte da auf grünes Licht. Man soll nicht versprechen, was man auch nicht halten kann. Aber man kann auch nicht sagen, dass nichts passiert ist. Das heißt, die Ukrainer haben schon sehr, sehr viel gemacht. Also das muss man zugeben. Also nicht nur zugeben, aber auch kongratulieren.
Mr. Prime Minister, keine Kampfjets als Rückflug nehmen Sie an, aber wären Sie dafür, noch mehr jetzt auch Kampfflugzeuge und auch Raketen mit weiter Reichweite zu liefern?
Ich bin als luxemburgischer Regierungschef da schlecht platziert, da ich selber auch keine Militär-Luftarmee habe. Ich glaube, es ist wichtig, dass wir einig sind und dass wir zusammen diese Schritte gehen. Das ist das, was wir auch, ich glaube, im Saal reden sollen.
Bei der Migration sind Sie...
Ja, also wie gesagt, eine Mauer hat noch nie eine Lösung gehabt. Ich glaube, es gibt irgendeine zwischen Mexiko und Amerika, die ist on sale. Die hat ja auch nichts mitgebracht. Und was will das heißen? Eine Mauer heißt das, wir bauen dann eine Mauer zwischen der Türkei und Bulgarien und dann, wo geht es weiter? Dann ist ja nur dann diesen Teil, dann sagt man, nein, die Mauer muss weitergebaut werden. Und ich hatte gedacht, Europa wäre auch ein Fall einer Mauer, diese Hoffnung gewesen und nicht neue Mauern aufzubauen. Und last but not least, ich hätte lieber das Geld würde anders gebraucht, um auch Entwicklungshilfe und auch andere Programme zu machen. Wenn das alles heißt, jetzt Mauern bauen, dass wir eine Festung brauchen, weil das ist ja dann, eine Mauer ist ja nur ein Stück und dann muss alles gefestigt werden, das wäre ein schlechtes Scheitern. Ich habe schon vor, ich glaube, 2 Jahren gesagt, es wäre eine Schande, wenn eine Mauer in Europa gebaut würde mit den europäischen Sternen drauf. Das wäre nicht das Europa, was ich mir vorstellen kann. Yes, in English, yes. What do you want to hear in English? I think what is impressive is to see what the Ukrainians have done the last months when we see all the efforts to come closer to the European Union. But as you know, we have 7 criteria, 7 conditions, and the Commission is the one who will give us green light or not to say that everything is okay or not. So we shouldn't promise things we cannot keep, but we should also realize all the efforts done by the Ukrainian side. What? Yeah, I just said it's a bit difficult as a Luxembourgish Prime Minister to speak about jets. I have a part of a Belgian plane together in the army. That's all I have. So for me, it's a bit difficult to speak about the jets. But what is important is that we get united inside and we see also not one country, another country isolated or get under pressure afterwards because they decided something. I think what is important is to have common answers to a common problem. So the fact is, I just said, the problem is if we think it's walls or fences, because now for the moment what is on the table is Bulgaria and Turkey, that's what I heard, but so this will not enough, so there will be again new fences or again new walls. And I believe that the money could be invested in other parts, and we saw that walls are not giving solutions to problems between the United States and Mexico. You see that it's not the solution. So I believe that to pay with this blue flag with golden stars would be the investment in fences and walls would be wrong. And especially when you start with a place, then you want to grow, because then it will be one border, then another border, then another border. And if the conclusion is that we want a fortress in Europe. And as I told also to the German colleagues, I thought Europe was to be able to take away the walls, and that's part of our history on our continent. Okay. Yes, I think it's important to show solidarity also with Syria and Turkey. I think what happened is a nightmare. Over 15,000 people who died.
It's agreed last year before summer was candidate status for Moldova. And on Georgia we were one step behind, but on Moldova and on Ukraine that was a clear decision. And now, of course, there is a path which has clear milestones. We know that Ukraine is doing a lot. The efforts are tremendous. At the end, it is always up to the Commission to assess where Ukraine is in terms on its path to membership. And of course, we will await that outcome of that assessment, which will be regularly done by the Commission. But I'm really impressed by what Ukraine is doing, and also the fact that they have this resilience and this clear will to take that next step.
Yes, but you always say that there is no fast track for this 3 countries.
Well, there is a systematic approach in the EU, a clear roadmap with clear milestones, which has been agreed years before, and Ukraine is now on that path. Again, we have consistently said that we rule nothing out as long as there is not an Article 5 situation between NATO and Russia. But also in the past, when we had debates about the Panzerhaubitzers, about the Leopards 2 tanks, and also on fighter jets, these debates take place in full secrecy, and only when they have been concluded, announcements will be made. Reason is that the allied parties need to discuss this in close circles, and you cannot do this out in the open. And you don't want the enemy to be more informed than necessary.
Why is it important that President Zelensky is here today? Because there is no promise.
It's crucial that he is here because it is a highly symbolic moment that the President of Ukraine, under full-scale attack of Russia, fighting back in an exemplary way, and we are all constantly in awe of what he, his team, the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian army, the military are doing against a huge country, Russia. We are trying to help him wherever we can. That he is here is highly symbolic and therefore a very important moment. Well, these are the Leopards 1. On the Leo 2s, of course, there is a different coalition. The Netherlands has said, if necessary, we would like to be part of that coalition. But we do not own Leo 2s. We only lease them. We can buy them and send them in Ukraine. But that's something we are discussing with our partners. Could also be that it's better to use our Leo 2s, for example, in Lithuania or somewhere else. That's still being debated. But on the Leo 1s, of course, there was a huge announcement this week by Denmark, Germany and my country.
On migration, Prime Minister, together with Austria, you demanded stronger measures, especially for the external borders. Do you see that this is enough in this declaration? Do you see a chance of the summit that
I must say the draft conclusions are heading in the right direction. And I've always said that it is an added up sum of many measures you have to. Cannot have one. Like in 2016, we closed a deal with Turkey and the issue was solved. This is not the case now. Here you need a whole list of smaller steps you have to take to get a grip on migration, to get that back under control. And I must say, what's on the table today, and I hope we can get to agreement, I'm very hopeful, and including being able to commission and member states jointly to work on border protection. Absolutely, it's on the agenda, and clearly so. I spoke myself with President Erdogan 2 days ago. We are all, of course, extremely sad about what happened, and so many people who lost their lives in the earthquake. In my country, with a big Turkish community, with a big Syrian community, of course, we also feel for our own countrymen who have lost so many people, so many next of kin, friends and family in Turkey, in Syria, and so it has to be on the agenda today and to coordinate even better wherever we can.
In that way, you had the meeting with the Iraqi Prime Minister, Iraqi Prime Minister. Could you tell me something about that?
Yes, it was a very good meeting. We have very close ties with the Kurdistan region in Iraq. Also had a meeting with the new president of Iraq, and we are working on so many issues: economy, migration, also, for example, the development of the agricultural sector. So yes, this was a very successful meeting amongst friends. We really have very close ties.
Thank you.
The difference is that I think the whole of the European Council, coming out of COVID-19, where the numbers were relatively low, now when we see the numbers have been rising steadily, in my country really high numbers, also in Germany and Belgium and France and Italy and Austria, in Sweden, also in other countries, there is a huge awareness now that we have to make use of the whole list of measures we can take collectively. There's not one way to hit this issue. It will be a whole list of smaller steps we need to take, including how to come to agreements with third countries, including how to use development aid in that relationship and to make that happen, but also in aligning our visa policy with the Western Balkans, including how we deal with 20 measures we are going to decide today. This will be extremely necessary. Getting into an Article 5 direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. So all these things have to be assessed, and as soon as conclusions have been reached, you can bring them to the outside world.
hat Geldmittel zur Verfügung. Ist für Österreich ein wichtiger. Das Migrationsthema steht ganz oben auf der Agenda. Österreich hat sich mit Holland dafür eingesetzt, dass es Probleme. Wir haben das Phänomen der irregulären Migration im vollen Umfang wieder zurück und es braucht Maßnahmen. Es muss auch das Ziel des heutigen Gipfels sein, dass wir in die Lage gesetzt werden, mit konkreten Beschlüssen den Menschen zu helfen. Die Schlussfolgerungen sollen dafür die Richtlinie sein. Bulgarien zum Beispiel braucht konkrete Hilfe, braucht Geld, damit es den Grenzschutz tatsächlich auch verwirklichen kann. Das ist das Ziel auch von Österreich, sich dafür einzusetzen. Denn eins ist ganz wichtig, wir müssen in der ganzen Europäischen Union die Asylbremse anziehen. Und jetzt ist eben der Moment gekommen, auch hier konkrete Maßnahmen zu setzen.
Mark Rutte hat gemeint, er ist optimistisch, dass da heute was weitergeht auf mehreren Ebenen. Sie haben gesagt, wenn nicht genug weitergeht, würden Sie diese Schlusserklärung möglicherweise auch nicht mittragen. Wie optimistisch sind Sie denn jetzt?
Ich habe jetzt einmal grundsätzlich gar keine Erwartungshaltung. Entscheidend ist, dass wir tatsächlich substanziell sprechen, dass wir ehrlich zueinander sind, dass wir das Problem auch tatsächlich so benennen, wie es sich darstellt und dann daraus die Maßnahmen ableiten. Die Niederlande sind wichtige Verbündete jetzt für Österreich in dieser Frage. Daher teile ich eine Zuversicht, nämlich dass Holland und Österreich sich massiv dafür einsetzen wird, dass tatsächlich auch hier etwas weitergeht in der Frage.
Der Schutz der Außengrenzen war Ihnen besonders wichtig. Da geht es manchmal auch um die Zaunfrage, aber auch um Infrastruktur. Wie ist da die Lage? Wie sehen Sie da momentan die Mehrheiten unter den Kollegen?
Entscheidend ist, dass die Geldmittel zur Verfügung gestellt werden. Ob dann die einen dazu Zaun sagen oder die anderen technische Infrastruktur. Entscheidend ist, dass Bulgarien geholfen wird. Und das ist einerseits in der Frage der Verstärkung des Grenzzauns, aber auch in der Frage des Personals, in der technischen Ausrüstung, in der Überwachung, denn jeder Zaun ist nur so gut, wie er auch überwacht wird. Es wird nicht nur Bulgarien unterstützt werden müssen, es wird genauso Italien, Frankreich, alle EU-Außengrenzländer müssen klar im Fokus der Kommission und unseres Handelns stehen. Weil den Außengrenzländern muss signalisiert werden, sie werden nicht allein gelassen, damit wir nicht allein gelassen werden, wenn wir dann die Sekundärmigration erleben.
Was würde das eigentlich für den westlichen Schulterschluss bedeuten, wenn es tatsächlich stimmt, dass Amerika verantwortlich ist für den
Ich habe davon Kenntnis erlangt, dass es hier jetzt Spekulationen gibt. Die USA haben hier ganz klar dazu Stellung bezogen. Für mich gibt es keinen Grund, an den Ausführungen der USA zu zweifeln.
Jetzt kurz noch zur Ukraine, da hat gestern Macron gemeint, man werde die Ukraine bis zum Sieg begleiten. Ist denn genug das Wort Frieden jetzt in diesen Erklärungen drinnen? In welche Richtung geht es denn da?
Die österreichische Position ist klar, wir helfen immer humanitär, wir stehen an der Seite der Ukraine und gleichzeitig setzt sich Österreich aber auch immer dafür ein, dass Gesprächskanäle offen bleiben, dass der Krieg auch wieder enden muss genauso auch eine Perspektive sein.
In English, there is the devastation, the earthquake in Turkey, Syria. Today morning, we're going to talking about.
Well, I'm not sure in the council itself, but now
Guardi, mi pare che si siano già fatti dei passi in avanti, perché la bozza delle conclusioni, se guardiamo al passato sul tema della dimensione esterna, sul tema del fatto che la questione migratoria è una questione europea, sul tema della specificità del confine marittimo, che ovviamente ha bisogno di risposte diverse, è un enorme passo avanti rispetto al passato. Per chi segue queste dinamiche sa che insomma negli ultimi 5 o 6 anni immaginare che ci fosse una tale presa di coscienza su questa materia da parte del Consiglio europeo era difficile, quindi insomma lo considero un ottimo punto di partenza, frutto di un importante lavoro italiano, non solo politico ma anche della nostra diplomazia, e quindi sono abbastanza ottimista.
Presidente, su dossier economici cosa si attende l'Italia da questo Consiglio principalmente?
Guardi, mi attendo che le legittime aspirazioni delle singole nazioni non vadano a scapito delle altre e che quindi si possa trovare un equilibrio. Da una parte noi abbiamo sicuramente un enorme bisogno di difendere la competitività del nostro sistema, ma non perché gli Stati Uniti hanno fatto l'IRA, no? l'Inflation Reduction Act, ma perché è un momento nel quale bisogna rimettere in discussione le scelte che si sono fatte, per esempio in tema di tornare a controllare le proprie catene di approvvigionamento fondamentali. Abbiamo un problema di competitività, bisogna aiutare il nostro sistema produttivo, bisogna farlo in maniera tale da non creare ovviamente disparità all'interno del mercato unico, e quindi per esempio noi continuiamo a ritenere che immaginare un fondo sovrano per sostenere le imprese, lavorare su una piena flessibilità dei fondi esistenti debbano essere questioni da discutere e da mettere sul piatto nel momento in cui alcuni che hanno uno spazio fiscale superiore ad altri chiedono allentamento delle norme sugli aiuti di Stato.
La missione di Francia, Germania a Washington è stata inopportuna, Presidente?
Guardi, francamente mi è sembrata più inopportuno l'invito a Zelensky di ieri, perché credo che la nostra forza in questa vicenda sia l'unità e la compattezza. E io capisco, voglio dire, le questioni di politica interna, no? Il fatto di privilegiare le proprie opinioni pubbliche interne, ma ci sono momenti nei quali privilegiare la propria opinione pubblica interna rischia di andare a discapito della causa, e questo mi pare che fosse uno di quei casi. Grazie, buon lavoro.
Grazie.
C'est sympathique. J'ai le shot du chou.
Oui.
Die zijn hier al.
Hey, emergency. Hey, doctor. Doctor.
Hey, doctor. Doctor.
Maybe a Coke or something?
Morning.
Today an extraordinary and an exceptional European summit with for the first time the participation in person of Volodymyr Zelensky. We are extremely united more than ever. Time is now. It is very important to increase our efforts to support Ukraine with military means on the one hand, with political support on the other hand. That's why we will have also the occasion to discuss what are the concrete tools we can mobilize in the following weeks and months. We'll also have the occasion during this summit to address the economic consequences for the European Union and to send a massive and a clear message of our common determination to act together in order to support the single market, in order to support the economic development across the European Union. And finally, we'll have also the occasion to discuss migration. This is a challenge for all of us. It requires a European response, a European coordination, and this is why at the level of the leaders today and probably tomorrow, we'll have the occasion to discuss in depth the modalities for our common decisions on that question. Ce sommet européen est un sommet absolument exceptionnel et unique puisque nous allons avoir pour la première fois la participation de Volodymyr Zelensky à peu près un an après les débuts de cette invasion massive de l'Ukraine par la Russie. Notre support est maximum. On va avoir l'occasion de voir comment de manière concrète on peut intensifier les efforts sur le plan militaire mais également sur le plan politique. Nous aurons aussi l'occasion durant ce sommet d'aborder la question des conséquences économiques pour la base industrielle et pour la base économique de l'Union européenne. On va aussi avoir l'occasion d'aborder les questions de migration. C'est un défi commun de l'Union européenne et c'est ensemble qu'on doit mettre en place une stratégie avec des mesures opérationnelles pour relever ce défi ensemble. Merci beaucoup. Bonjour.
Bonjour Monsieur le Président. Bonjour Monsieur le Président. Là-bas on dit, mais je vous dis deux mots d'abord. Vous allez bien? Heureux de retrouver ici au Conseil européen pour ce sommet exceptionnel que nous avons décidé. D'abord le président Zelensky qui sera donc à nos côtés, ce qui nous permettra de réaffirmer le soutien qui est le nôtre à l'égard de l'Ukraine et du peuple ukrainien, comme nous l'avons fait hier soir avec Olaf Scholz dans ce dîner de travail et de fraternité avec le président Zelensky. Et pour moi, ce sommet a ensuite deux objectifs très clairs, au-delà de ce soutien réaffirmé de notre coordination. Premièrement, c'est notre réponse économique à la situation présente. Et donc, nous allons adopter, j'espère, et en tout cas les conclusions qui sont proposées vont dans ce sens, des conclusions ambitieuses pour renforcer la compétitivité et l'attractivité de l'Europe sur l'industrie verte et permettre de répondre ainsi aux défis qui est posé à la fois par la guerre, les conséquences de la guerre et la politique de compétitivité américaine. Et deuxièmement, nous aurons une discussion sur l'immigration, là aussi avec l'objectif de pouvoir bâtir un cadre renforcé sur la politique extérieure en particulier, ce qui était l'objectif que nous nous étions assignés pour ce Conseil. Voilà les principaux points que nous discuterons.
Vous êtes prêt à donner combien d'avions?
Nous sommes prêts, comme depuis le début, à aider, à résister et réussir pour que les négociations puissent se tenir dans le cadre le plus utile et le plus positif pour l'Ukraine. Et donc on a eu une discussion très approfondie hier pour définir les besoins et la stratégie. C'est comme ça qu'il faut avancer. Ensemble discuter en profondeur de la manière dont l'Ukraine voulait résister et mener les opérations dans les prochains mois. Et c'est au fond à la lumière de cela qu'il nous faut continuer d'apporter le soutien militaire à l'Ukraine et aux Ukrainiens. Vous le savez, la France l'a fait depuis le début avec les canons César, avec beaucoup d'éléments d'artillerie, avec des blindés et avec récemment les chars légers que nous avons décidé de livrer. Et on voit qu'il y a un besoin capacitaire de court terme, c'est là-dessus qu'il faut se concentrer et que nous nous concentrons. Nous avons également parlé du plan de paix en 10 points qui a été proposé par le président Zelensky et de la suite des négociations telles qu'elles peuvent se tenir, là aussi en regardant les différents éléments. Donc c'était pour moi une conversation stratégique qu'il était nécessaire d'avoir, parce que notre soutien, ça n'est pas simplement en quelque sorte répondre en permanence à des besoins ou parler de micro à micro, c'est aussi comprendre une guerre qui se mène sur le terrain, comprendre les besoins d'une armée et d'un peuple aux côtés duquel nous nous tenons depuis le début. Ça a été l'objet de la discussion d'hier.
Merci beaucoup. Olaf Scholz a mis en garde contre la tentation d'une surenchère dans la livraison d'armes quand Volodymyr Zelensky a livré des avions, alors que l'Europe venait déjà d'accepter de livrer les choses, c'est déjà un grand pas. Est-ce qu'il y a un risque d'escalade? Est-ce que c'est ça le danger finalement avec les avions?
Le danger, c'est d'abord que aujourd'hui, il y a des difficultés sur le terrain. Et donc je pense qu'il faut rester très concentré et unis. Nous sommes aux côtés de l'Ukraine, de son armée, de son peuple, pour qu'il résiste et qu'il puisse mener les opérations utiles. Et ensuite, c'est quand on partage les objectifs de guerre qu'on peut savoir quels sont les équipements adaptés. Parce qu'on voit bien que les prochaines semaines et les prochains mois seront décisifs. Et je pense qu'il faut privilégier, je suis convaincu qu'il faut privilégier les livraisons utiles pour mener ces opérations et résister, plutôt que des engagements qui arriveront très tard ou très loin. Et donc il faut regarder ce qui est livrable à court terme, ce qui correspond aux besoins que les Ukrainiens ont pu détailler. Il ne m'appartient pas ici de les commenter parce que c'est un plan de bataille qui appartient au président de l'Ukraine et qu'il a partagé avec nous de manière stratégique. Et ce n'est pas quelque chose que je vous dirai, mais c'est cela qui va déterminer notre volonté de livrer et d'accompagner.
Mais est-ce qu'il a demandé des avions français pour Volodymyr Zelensky?
Nous n'avons pas eu cette discussion hier soir parce que nous avons privilégié justement ce qui permet de mener ces opérations.
Vous allez en donner?
No, I think what we have to do is to make consistent our policy. We have to help support these countries in order to fight against poverty, inequalities, to deal with climate change, and to fight against terrorism. No doubt about that. We have to help them for education, agriculture, economic opportunities. No doubt about it. So I think the sequence we started with the African Union, European Union Summit remains very valid and has to be delivered. At the same time, we have to better protect our external borders. And sometimes it's very difficult for public opinion and societies to understand that you can help countries, you can provide visa, and at the same time they tell you, I cannot control the people when they arrive, and I don't want to take them back when you have problems with them. So it's a normal political dialogue. I would not put it as something, I would say, incompatible with this approach. And by the way, 1 year ago we discussed about migration as well, positive migration, but as well the migration we want to limit and better control. And I think what is at stake in the European Union, and the debate we will have, is how to better protect our borders and how to better integrate people when they arrive and they want to stay here for two main reasons. One, because they are fighters for freedom and asking for asylum. Second, when they ask to work in our societies and contribute to our prosperity. No, but we have this political dialogue. I would make it now as a broad dialogue. But I do believe that we have to improve our dialogue with the origin country. And I think it's much more efficient than trying to push back in third countries and having this type of approach. But for me, the conclusions we have and what the Commission proposed is extremely useful and very valid. And I think we have to improve our common policy vis-à-vis these countries of origin in order to reduce the inflows, precisely because we have to reduce the pressure in order to better integrate and just welcome these people in much better conditions.
Le président Zelensky vous demande aussi d'exclure les athlètes russes des JO. Est-ce que vous y êtes favorable? Est-ce que vous en avez parlé?
Nous en avons parlé. J'ai expliqué aussi comment les choses se tenaient. Il y a un comité international olympique qui a pris une position. Il est dans son rôle, c'est sa compétence. Et il le fait avec l'esprit sportif et l'esprit de l'olympisme. Les positions qui ont été prises le sont pour ce qui procède du mouvement olympique pour les prochains mois. Ça ne couvre pas la période des Jeux olympiques et des Jeux paralympiques qui se tiendront en France. C'est à l'été que nous aurons une clause de revoyure et que nous l'apprécierons en fonction des circonstances et en fonction de ce qui se tient sur le terrain.
Mais en tant que président du pays hôte, quel est votre
avis? Mais c'est ce que je vous dis, je vous le dirai au moment où il y a une clause de rendez-vous. Je ne vais pas vous répondre aujourd'hui à une question qui ne se pose pas.
Vous ne l'excluez pas aujourd'hui?
Non.
Qu'est-ce que vous en pensez de la lettre qu'a initiée la première ministre danoise sur l'immigration avec 7 autres pays?
Je pense qu'elle fait partie des contributions et qu'il faut qu'il y ait un dialogue aujourd'hui extrêmement large. On sent toutes les tensions, c'est ce que j'ai évoqué avec votre collègue. Je pense qu'aujourd'hui, le texte que nous avons est bon. La France a fait avancer le pacte migratoire sous présidence française en permettant un premier pas par cette approche graduelle, et on a amélioré des choses lors du sommet en particulier de Tourcoing. Il y a maintenant une deuxième étape qui est de continuer à améliorer la protection de nos frontières extérieures. Je pense qu'il nous faut avancer dans ce sens-là et améliorer le dialogue avec les pays avec les pays d'origine de ces flux migratoires pour voir comment justement améliorer les choses et être plus efficaces. Mais je pense que nous devons être fidèles à notre histoire et nos valeurs, être plus efficaces et mieux accueillir. Donc c'est un ensemble et c'est cet équilibre qu'il nous faut tenir en européen, parce que c'est en européen qu'on peut obtenir ce résultat. Je n'ai pas de commentaire à faire. Je pense que j'ai souhaité recevoir le président Zelensky avec le chancelier Scholz. Je pense que nous étions dans notre rôle. Je pense que l'Allemagne et la France, comme vous le savez, ont un rôle particulier depuis 8 ans sur cette question, puisque nous avons aussi ensemble justement porté ce processus. Je pense que c'est au président Zelensky aussi d'apprécier les formats qu'il choisit. Il y aura toute la matinée après l'expression au Parlement européen puis au Conseil des formats avec plusieurs pays ici même, par catégorie et par groupe. Et donc je pense que ce qui importe, c'est que nous soyons collectivement efficaces et que nous ayons une stratégie qui permette de retrouver une paix durable, c'est-à-dire une paix qui respecte l'Ukraine dans ses droits et ses frontières, une paix qui soit respectueuse de la justice compte tenu des crimes qui ont été commis, et une paix qui permette de bâtir un cadre de sécurité durable pour notre Europe. C'est cet objectif, le seul que nous devons poursuivre.
Qu'est-ce que vous avez promis pour M. Zelensky hier soir?
Mais les choses, vous savez, depuis le premier jour, il sait notre engagement. Et donc je pense que je ne vois pas cette relation comme une espèce en effet, de commentaires ou de conférences de presse permanentes où il y a des demandes et puis des réponses. Ça n'aurait aucun sens. C'est la guerre. Et donc nous avons partagé une vision stratégique de celle-ci pour que la Russie ne puisse jamais la gagner. Voilà. Merci.
What was your message to President Zelensky last night, and should we be sending fighter jets to
My message first was full support from day one to the very last minute. My second message was to reiterate the fact that Russia cannot and will not win this war. And my third objective was to have a strategic discussion with him and Chancellor Scholz in order to precisely assess the objectives on the ground, the requirements and the needs from an operational and military point of view, and the strategy to negotiate future peace.
Sending fighter jets to Ukraine?
This question is the one being part of the first discussion I mentioned, and I will not share the Ukrainian plan with you because this is not my job. Merci beaucoup. Mes devoirs.
bijna afdekken. Maar ik weet niet hoe je er nog moet maken.
Second round. You change your mind. Talking a little bit in the day, but you're going to the second round. How are you? Kaya, how are you doing? So good to see you. You prepared a new film.
She's complaining too quiet.
It's good to see you. It's good to have memories. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you, as always. Yes, it was in December. In December, I think it was. Yes, December. It's good that you. How are you? But it's good to see you.
Yeah, but it's not the way that I can
You say that the American community 4 more years. 4 more years. When he tried to promote she was the audience after these 8 years. 4 more years. 3 years. Nobody cared for him. Everybody wanted to give him 4 more years. So but every time the president, speaker of parliament, now for the first time in history, many years of now for the first time. Absolutely 15 years. Terrible. Prime Minister unusual. See how boys club. It's more. It is more popular. It is one all the time. Also, has many budget wins because the last woman received by the not, I realized that the last quarter was
Borel.
It's all about the problems.
Minister met with you, and now you have
Good morning. Fine, yourself?
Yes.
We're back. We're back for a good days of work. Hello, Charles. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Over here.
Antonio, how are you? Good to see you. Hello. Good to see you again. How are you? Fine, thank you very much. She's very always member of the council.
Elections after.
No problem. No, the president always. Very smart. My friend. How are you doing? Good to see you. Well, fine. Yourself? Very good. Very good.
It's a daily thing for us. It's a daily thing. It's only when there's rough seat that you don't get this issue. But otherwise, it's a daily thing.
I'm so sorry I couldn't.
You have to get the political army involved as well. So it's mostly done by our armed forces.
Okay.
I knew you had a reason behind that.
Yeah, of course, of course.
It's smart because when you don't have very proper structure, the formal structure, and there are that's why I know they change their minds. It's a very important.
Yeah, I know.